What's happening, everybody? Happy football Sunday. Not a ton of action in this London game so far, but if you do have uh, skin in the game, hopefully it's going your way so far. I guess to that point, hopefully you don't have any Titans. They look like they're sleepwalking through this game. They might be sleepwalking through their season in general, but they don't seem to be well adjusted to the travel over to London this morning. The Ravens look a little bit more prepared. I believe they were the team that went over early in the week, and the Titans showed up like Thursday or Friday. So I think, body clocks are hurting the Titans right now. Plus, on top of the fact that they might not just be a very good team. But figured I would pop on for a little while this morning. If anybody had any start-sit questions whether we talked through yesterday or if anything new has emerged that you're considering, we can work through those things. Be on for about an hour, probably about until noon Eastern, or basically whenever questions stop, whatever happens first. So I will be shutting it down around noon Eastern. So you got me guys for about an hour to either run through any new questions or to rehash anything that we talked about yesterday or maybe earlier this week or in the Discord. So let me know your situation, scoring, do you need upside? Do you start 3 receivers? Any extra detail you could possibly provide that might be helpful for the context of your situation is always appreciated. That allows me to, work with the most information I can have to help sort your situation out. Let's go ahead and get right into it. You need a flex between Nico Collins, Madison, Taylor, Pittman, or Pierce. Yeah, I mean, Damon, I'm pretty sure, as long as you play in shallow leagues, you're going to have really good players on your bench. In full PPR, I'd probably go Madison here. What's going on, Nemo? Good to see you, man. And Greg, what's happening? Good to see some of my members. I would probably go Madison against the Bears. It's just the best matchup, and he should get volume. Pierce, tough matchup against New Orleans. Taylor, I'm expecting big things moving forward for Taylor, but maybe we temper expectations a little bit today. Let's see him have a better game than he did last week before we fire him up into a lineup, because you're probably going up against another loaded squad. So I would play Madison. He's getting volume. He's been pretty good outside of that Thursday night game on the road. That was a tough spot to begin with. So I'll go Madison against the Bears. Nothing scary about that matchup. And you figure in some way, shape, or form, everybody on the Vikings is going to have to step up a little bit more with Justin Jefferson down. So it doesn't directly necessarily correlate to more work for Madison, but it certainly could. I would say Madison there. As far as your defense, you're not playing the Jets against Hurts. The Raiders against the Patriots are probably your best option. The Patriots defense or Patriots offense is floundering. They don't look very good. Mac Jones doesn't look very good. I would take the Raiders. The Lions are a good defense, but on the road in Tampa, I don't love that as much for them. And then the Patriots defense, they lost Matt Judon, and their offense puts them in bad situations more often than they should have to deal with. I don't want to play them either. I would go the Raiders there. I would go the Raiders over the Patriots. Have to start one of Mooney or Josh Reynolds. Mooney has goose-egged, like 3 of the 5 weeks so far? And Reynolds is in a bad matchup, and with Jameson Williams back, he's a little less trustworthy, but he's been more consistent. He's been more consistent than Mooney. I would probably go Reynolds. Mooney has blanked. Right? 3 times. I'm just looking this up right now. 3 times. Mooney has not caught a pass. The other 2 games, he was fine. 4 for 51, not bad. 4 for 53 and a touchdown week 1. That was good, but Reynolds, I know that for a portion of the season or for the, first 4 weeks of the year, Jameson Williams wasn't there, but even last week with Jameson Williams back in the lineup, Reynolds did fine. It was a good matchup, but 4 for 76 and a score. I would probably just go Reynolds and hope for the best. I would probably just go Reynolds. Mooney's blanked a few times. And Greg, as far as you're nervous about the matchup with Dallas, that's fair. The Chargers are pretty good. I like the Falcons this week. I like the Falcons as a defensive stream this week. They're at home. They play much better at home as a team overall. And they get Washington, that's a pretty favorable matchup for opposing defenses. If you're worried about the Cowboys, I would say the Falcons are a fine swerve. I know the Vikings are a decent option just because they're playing the Bears. I just don't know how much I trust them because they're just not a good. They're not a good team. They're not a good defense. I just don't like hitching my wagon to those situations. I'll take the Falcons. I'll take the Falcons at home against Washington. That's a good spot for them. And they're a fine swerve if you're personally in your gut, if you don't like the Cowboys matchup this week because they're on the road against the Chargers, who are a good enough offense. If your gut is telling you don't want to play them, the Falcons are a fine pivot. The Falcons are a fine pivot. Marcus, appreciate the Superman. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. You traded Pollard for Pacheco and Lamb. That's pretty good. Or you traded Pollard, you acquired Pacheco and Lamb? Is that the situation? You acquired Pacheco and Lamb? That's not an overpay. That's a really good return. That's not an overpay. That's a really good return. Pacheco's rounding into form. He had his offseason injuries. Got off to a slow start. Are we, you're thinking early on, here we go again, Andy Reid, like, is it going to be some stupid three-headed backfield committee over the course of the season? Is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to keep getting in there, even though he's not very good? Like, how much is Jerick McKinnon going to get involved, right? This, that, and the other. These are the questions we're asking ourselves about, like, the Chiefs and Isaiah Pacheco, like, early on, first couple weeks of the season, but scored in 3 straight games after the slow start. He had a nice game Thursday night. Meanwhile, Pollard, like, relative to his lofty expectations, I mean, I like him this week against the Chargers, but he hasn't exactly set the world on fire when I think a lot of us were at this point expecting. I mean, we were drafting Pollard as a top 7 or 8 running back this year. That hasn't come to fruition. He had a great week 1 against the Giants. He had another good week 2 against the Jets. Had a solid week 3. Went over, 120 rushing yards. That's really good. But the past 2 weeks, now they did come in bad matchups, but he's been quiet. And in that Patriots game, the Cowboys blew them out 30, something like that, 38-0 or something like that. So, I mean, not like they were having any issues scoring. Pollard didn't really do much that game. I guess they didn't need him to do that much that game. And then in a bad matchup against San Francisco, he doesn't do much. I mean, to get Pacheco for him, and then on top of that, you throw in CeeDee Lamb, who he's also off to a slow start by his lofty standards, but he has also earned the right to be in your lineup every single week, no matter what. So that's a guy that you still have faith in to be a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season. I think you did fine there. I think you did good. Will Pollard by himself probably outperform Pacheco when it's all said and done? Yeah, probably. But you got a wide receiver 1 on top of the deal. No, it's not an overpay. I think that's a good trade. That's how you do a 2 for 1. Maybe you have a star, but you need some depth. You need to fill out your starting lineup with more viable options. That's how you get it done. No, that's good. Nicely done, Marcus. And thank you again for the super. Let's see. I got through Greg and Nemo's first portion of their questions. I understand Minnesota is a great matchup for Mooney. I just don't know how much I trust Darnell Mooney, regardless of the matchup. Like 3 goose eggs in a low volume passing offense. I don't feel great about that. I just don't feel great about Mooney. Meanwhile, we know we're pretty confident the Lions are going to have to throw on the road in Tampa. That's a pretty good defense. Um, you're still firing up David Montgomery with full confidence, but they might have a tougher time running the ball today against a solid Bucks unit. They're going to have to throw. Reynolds has stayed involved. Maybe Mooney's a ceiling play. Maybe he's a moonshot play if you think you need upside. But if you think you can, if Reynolds gets you 7 or 8 points, that'll be good enough. Then maybe play Reynolds. But if you think you need more than that, if you feel like you're an underdog and you need to swing for the fences, then I guess Mooney. But like his floor is quite literally 0, and we've seen that happen 3 times. That's the only thing. What's up, Fortune? Good to see you, man. Algier or Ertz? Ertz is in a really good matchup. Ertz is in a really, really good matchup. Rams are giving up lots of points to opposing tight ends. Algier is in a favorable spot at home. The Falcons love to run the ball. And so they're going to utilize him at home in this matchup. So I guess I tend to lean the running back. I think Algier is going to get work at home. The Falcons want to run the ball a ton. In 3 home games this year, Algier has received 18 touches week 1, 16 touches week 2, 17 touches week 5 last week. Algier has gotten the ball 15 plus times in all 3 home games. They have another home game today. Yeah, I'll go Algier, Fortune. I'll chase the volume there. And go Algier. He's picked up the work in all 3 home games this year, and he's got another one where, we expect a decent amount of neutral game script in this game. Oh, look, the Titans have the ball. Let's see if they can do anything with it this time. Yeah, I'll go Algier, Fortune. Okay, let's see. Gabe, Kirk, Olave, Olave, and if it's full PPR, Damon, Olave and Kirk. Like you have to play Olave. I know he's been kind of meh the past couple of weeks, but you have to go back to the well. You have to bank on the talent. Olave is one of those dudes. You probably drafted him in if it's a shallower league, he may have been like a 3rd round pick, but you drafted him high. You drafted him to be, one of your studs. I would go back to Olave, and if it's full PPR, I would probably play Christian Kirk. Hope he can get another 7 or 8 catches. Zay Jones is out for Jacksonville. Nothing scary about that matchup. Gabe remains a big boom bust play, and he's been really good this year. But if it's full PPR, I mean, you're not expecting big catch volume from Gabe Davis. You're just hoping for a 20-yard score. Like you're hoping for a big play for a touchdown, and then he sprinkles in another 3 or 4 catches, hopefully. I would, in full PPR, probably chase the volume with Christian Kirk. Man, the Titans stink. Tannehill's holding on to the ball way too long. They don't have a good offensive line though either. This is man. They need to bottom out. They are. I don't know why. It's really starting to look stupid that the Titans decided to try this year. uh, they were behind everybody in the AFC South at the start of the season, and they are behind everybody probably even further now. Just like overall, long term, it is silly that the Titans decided to try this year. But whatever. I'm not a GM. Thoughts on JMO? There's no fantasy value today, but I mean, I like him as a hold. There's no like he caught two. He had 2 catches for 1 yard last week. I mean, he's just getting mixed in. He's still getting acclimated. He's still getting worked in. He's done nothing recently to instill any type of confidence. He's a wide receiver 6 this week. Like he's not on the radar. That being said, moving forward, yeah, I mean, you're tentatively intrigued by what he can do by his talent. He's a bench stash. If he makes a big play today, then all right, he's on the radar for next week. But um, we just got to take it 1 week at a time with him. 12th overall pick last year, so like we have expectations. We think he's going to be good. We hope he's going to be good, but he hasn't really done anything yet. Last year he was, coming back from ACL surgery, so you don't hold that one against him. But he did return last year, and he only caught 1 ball. It was a broken coverage for a score. Um, didn't do anything else the rest of last season after he got in there. And then, of course, last week was his first game back this season. He just hasn't played. He hasn't played. Bench stash, yeah. Starting lineup consideration, he would have to make a huge play today to be considered next week in a tough spot, in a tough matchup. If he can do that, then then it's a different story next week. Yeah, Greg, I still think I like that situation. I mean, Debo's in a brutal spot. Bad weather in Cleveland. Uh, Tough matchup against the Browns, but also it's Debo Samuel. I think you just have to fire him up and hope for the best. Plus, the Browns offense, if the Browns offense struggles to get anything going on offense with a backup quarterback and they can't sustain drives, that's going to put the 49ers offense eventually in advantageous spots. Um, I would just play Debo. And then for me, I guess Garrett Wilson with Darius Slay out for the Eagles. I'll hope for a high floor game from him. Can't play Amari without Watson. Um, you could play London at home. It's just the Falcons' offense is difficult to trust. The Falcons' passing offense is difficult to trust. And then as for Nico, he's going to see Lattimore. So there will be volume there. There's the game script is in Nico's favor. So like he can deliver, he can come through, and it is I where is that game? Is that in New Orleans or is it in Houston? I'm looking this up right now. They're at home. So I guess that's a bit of an equalizer for Nico. They are at home, but it is a tough matchup with Lattimore. Um, I would not be able to sit Debo. I would not be able to sit Debo. Um, have to play him, and then between Wilson and Nico, because Darius Slay is out for the Eagles. Um, I'll say Wilson. The matchup is a little more favorable. Matchup's a little more favorable. Uh, Let me see. Demercado or take a chance on Ahmed. They're both in the same tier. I think Demercado Nemo gets a little bit more volume. I'm not super confident in Keontae Ingram. I don't care that Keontae Ingram is listed as the starter. I don't care about that. We haven't seen anything from Keontae Ingram. Short, very small sample size, all things considered, but Demercado showed a little bit of pop last week that we've not seen from Keontae Ingram. Demercado's sample size is even smaller. But I would probably say Demercado volume based, like RB3 floor. Ahmed could be a Hail Mary, ceiling play. He might get in the mix because the Dolphins blow the doors off the Panthers. And so, they're getting their backup running backs in the mix and involved in the second half. That's obviously Ahmed today. Mostert's going to see as much work as he can possibly handle. So I wouldn't be so let's put it this way. If you decide to fire up Ahmed, like I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have very many touches in the first half. But I feel like he could get involved in the second half if that game goes the way we expect it to, which is the Dolphins handle their business. So I would say Demercado is like a safe play. Like these two situations, all things equal, but these two guys specifically. Demercado is your safer play. Ahmed has maybe a higher ceiling, but I would say a lower floor. Both dart throws, I would say Demercado is maybe a little bit safer. I'm personally not worried about the fact that they put Keontae Ingram atop the depth chart after James Conner was placed on IR. Damian Pierce or okay, yeah. So Damian. So to that point, Ahmed is a complete dart throw. Damian Pierce is the Texans RB1 who is getting volume. You have to play Pierce. You have to play Pierce even if it's in a bad matchup. We can't play him over Salvin Ahmed, who is. We can't play Salvin Ahmed over Damian Pierce. Ahmed is the Dolphins RB4 when everyone is healthy. Pierce is the Texans RB. You got to play Damian Pierce. Oh, you have to pick two of these guys. Okay. So between Ahmed and Akers, probably Ahmed. Akers just can't be trusted right now. Akers is buried. He could reemerge, but Ahmed's in the better offense. I would say, with Wilson out, with Achan obviously out, I actually think Ahmed probably has a clearer path to opportunities than Akers does, especially if the Dolphins, if they open this thing up and they've got a double-digit point lead in the second half, um, I got to think Ahmed gets involved there. I got to think Ahmed gets involved there. So I would say Akers to the bench, Nemo. Demercado and Ahmed. Nico or Jonathan Taylor? What's the scoring? What's the scoring? Oh, it's full PPR. Got you. If this is the same, league, or if this is the same team, I mean, if it's full PPR, I would go Nico over. Taylor is a guy that I think after this week we're gonna confidently start putting him back into our lineups soon. He might need one more week, and this is not a great spot on the road against Jacksonville. They've been pretty solid as a defense and against the run, but Taylor is obviously one of those difference makers at the position. You might want to lead with a little bit more, you want to be a little bit more cautious with him for one more week as he gets his sea legs under him. So in full PPR, I'd probably go Nico for one more week. Taylor is the big shot play. Taylor is like the upside play. If you're an underdog and you're like thinking to yourself in full PPR, like 12 to 15 points from my wide receiver 3 or 4 is not going to cut it. Like I need to shoot for 20 points. Then I would say Taylor's ceiling is maybe higher, but his floor is lower than Nico's. But his ceiling is higher. And then between those options for your flex, Pierce, like just take the volume. Just take the volume from Damian Pierce. It's these wide receivers they're a little more enticing. Um, they're a little more enticing in full PPR. But Palmer is, I don't know necessarily that he's automatically the team's wide receiver 2 any given week. You also have Brian Robinson. He's not in a great spot. He's on the road and in a tough matchup. I would probably say Pierce, at least he's at home and he's going to get work. Of those four, between Pierce, Foreman, Palmer, Robinson, I would say Pierce is your floor play. It's kind of boring, but I know he's going to get volume. I guess Pierce of those options. They're all in the same mix. It would normally be Brian Robinson, but because he's on the road against Atlanta, that's a tough spot. That's a tough defense. I guess I lean Pierce, and you just kind of hope he comes through on volume. Palmer is a moonshot play in full PPR that I'm not sure. I could confidently fire up given those options at running back. There goes Derrick Henry. Oh man, is he gonna go? He didn't quite make it. But there you go. First big play for the Titans today. It only took until the second half. Let's see. Welcome, Cade. Ramondre Stevenson or Chuba. Yeah, it's not unfair because Stevenson hasn't been great. And Stevenson hasn't been very good. Chuba's in a good spot here. It's a good opportunity, but Stevenson is the better player. But the Patriots are pretty bad on offense right now. Chuba, I would say, is a floor play. Ramondre is if you're in a situation where you're the underdog, you're going into this match at like clear underdog. I'm not talking about like it's going to be close, but you're like expected to. Right now, the projection is you might lose by 5 points. I'm talking about like you are an underdog. You are, potentially looking at you having to make up like double-digit points over the course of the rest of your lineup. Then maybe Ramondre is your moonshot play, your ceiling play, but his floor is probably lower right now. And Chuba should get some volume with Miles Sanders being out. Chuba floor, Ramondre if you need upside. I would have a hard time taking Ramondre out of my lineup for Chuba, but if you think you can play it safe, then Chuba might be the play. Only if you think you can play it safe. What's going on, Crumbly Heads? Good to see you, man. We started Spears. Oh, no. Well, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that he does something. Man, the Titans are awful. Well, that's pass interference. My feed might be behind a couple of people, or maybe it's I don't know. People watch these things at all different times. There's delays, whether you're watching cable or you're streaming or whatever whatever have you. They're just talking about this flag right now. I mean, it's not totally done yet for Spears. They're obviously in game script that is in his favor. They're losing. There's only so much. They can only run the ball with Derrick Henry so many more times given the current situation that the Titans find themselves in. So, I mean, Spears might get in there. But yeah, that's a tough start right now. That's a tough start right now. Between Hollywood or Ayuk, is that half PPR? Ayuk is in a tough spot today because the weather in Cleveland. Actually, let's just get the latest. Let's just get the latest forecast because obviously these things could change. Okay. Only an 18% chance of rain. So that's to start at kickoff. So that's not bad. Still 15-mile-per-hour winds. So that's not the most ideal, but I guess it's not backbreaking. It's not backbreaking those conditions. It's full PPR. But it is a tougher matchup. It is a tougher matchup. Hollywood has a slightly better matchup against the Rams. No weather problems. That game is in LA. No weather issues there. Both have been pretty solid. Marquise Brown has been rock solid, steady, and consistent. Ayuk had a really strong week one. He was on his way to a really good week two, but then he picked up a shoulder injury, um, missed a short week three, and then came back. He didn't have a huge game last week, but it was because he didn't need to. The 49ers crushed the Cowboys. Um, and in week four, 6 for 148. He just lit them up. I would say Crumply Heads Hollywood is your floor play. The floor has been there for Marquise Brown pretty much every game this year outside of week one, and even then, I think he had like 8 or 9 full PPR points. Hollywood is floor. Ayuk is upside, but his floor is lower than Hollywood's. So it just depends on what you think you need. Depends on what you think you need. I would say Ayuk is a ceiling play. Hollywood is a floor play. They're both in the same tier if you can't start them both. But the fact that it looks like rain is not as big of an issue in Cleveland right now as it looked like it might be earlier in the week. We are still expecting some rain later in the game as the game gets later, but that could also be the storm moving out of the area. So maybe we can proceed with a little bit of more optimism for guys like Debo and Ayuk today. It's still a tough matchup, but maybe the weather is not as big of a deal. Hollywood floor, Ayuk ceiling, Crumply Heads. Depends on what you might need. It depends on what you think you need just looking at your matchup. Addison or Devontae Smith in full PPR. And yeah, Cooper beneath both easily. He doesn't have his quarterback. Addison or Devontae Smith. Smith's matchup got a little bit better because Sauce Gardner is out for the Jets. Like he might see DJ Reed sometimes, but DJ Reed can't cover both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. So his matchup got a little bit better. Addison, obviously, his stock is up because Justin Jefferson is on injured reserve. And it's a softer matchup across the board going against the Bears. I guess Addison, if it's full PPR, it's tough to sit. It's tough to sit Devontae Smith, man. Does this league only start 2 wide receivers? I'm gonna be screaming about this for everybody like all next season. Y'all need to talk to your commissioners. Y'all need to talk to your commissioners and start 3 receivers instead of 2. You guys are getting anybody who still plays in leagues where you only start 2 receivers, you're getting jobbed. It's not as fun. It's not as fun. You should be able to score more points. You should be able to take advantage of the good players that you draft. 3 receivers should be the default. I will be your lawyer if you need to talk to your commissioner at the end of the season to change that. I'll say Addison. I'll say Addison over Devontae Smith, even though I don't really want to sit Devontae Smith. The matchup could be a little tougher for him because he will see probably at times DJ Reed, whereas Addison, there's no Justin Jefferson for the Vikings, and there's no player at DJ Reed's caliber in the Bears secondary. Uh, let's see. And yeah, Crumply Cooper, we need both. Nemo, if T Higgins is active, yeah, I mean, whoever your other options are, probably doesn't feel as good as being able to play T Higgins. Like, yes, he might be a decoy, but also he's T Higgins. So you probably just need to fire him up and hope for the best. Fractured rib, he's going to be playing through pain. But if he's active, I think you have to just start him. If he's active, I think you have to just start him and hope for the best. Plus, it's a pretty good matchup. Like whether they'll get him the ball at home against a beatable defense. Got to start Higgins. Marcus, appreciate the Superman, much appreciated. Ayuk or Debo? You have to choose between these two guys. I mean, I saw a stat earlier this week that I think since Brock Purdy has been inserted as the 49ers starter and everybody for the 49ers is healthy, Ayuk leads Debo in targets 53-52. So by one. It's not even really a lead. It's pretty much an even split. But Debo also gets backfield work. Not as much now that oh dude, that guy just got that's a helmet to helmet hit. That's a oh man. That's a dangerous hit. I think that's Chris Moore who just suffered that for the Titans. It's a dangerous hit to the head. Come on, man. All right. Sorry, I got sidetracked because this London game is still on. Ayuk or Debo? Yeah, I mean, we still, I think, consider Debo the superior player to Ayuk. He's obviously more accomplished. Oh, dude, yeah, he left his feet. He launched into him. That's, I mean, defenseless receiver. Like, you can't do that. You can't launch into somebody and lead with your head on a defenseless receiver. Come on, man. Um, Ayuk is your, I guess, man. You have to start one of these. You have to bench one of these two between Ayuk or Debo. You obviously want to start both of these guys. We need to get is your Marcus. I hope you, if do you start three receivers in this league or do you only start two? We got to have a conversation with these commissioners. You got to starting three receivers should be the default. Should be the default. If I play in leagues where the buy-in is more than $50, I'm not joining if there's only two starting wide receiver spots. It's like I'm not playing. But I guess I would say, man, it's a coin flip. I guess I would lean. I can't take Debo out of my lineup. I think I still have, there's still this feeling that Debo is the top option between the two of them. There's still this feeling that Debo is the top option between the two of them. And while I really want to play Brandon Ayuk because he's been awesome, and I do think this matchup favors Ayuk a little bit more. Not that it's a great matchup for either one, but I do think it favors Ayuk a little bit more. I don't think I can put Debo on the bench. I don't think I can put Debo on the bench. That's a tough call. It's tough that you have to even make that decision. Yeah, I don't think I can take Debo out. I don't think I can take Debo out. So I guess Debo, Marcus. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to sit either one. I want to play both, but I guess I'm playing Debo. I can't take Debo out. Appreciate the Superman. Thank you so much. Um, Let me see, Damon. I see your rest of season defense. None of the above. Well, Chiefs. I guess the Chiefs. I didn't see the Chiefs. If you're starting one defense for the rest of the season, it's the Chiefs. Otherwise, we're streaming defenses. Um, but the Chiefs, they're a they look like a top 5 unit right now. They look like a top 5 unit right now. Sorry, I didn't see the Chiefs initially. I saw Raiders, Bengals, Patriots, and I was like, no, none of these. I mean, week to week, sure. Rest of season, nobody. But the Chiefs, I mean, they look like a top 5 defense right now. Yeah, they look really good. The Chiefs. Um, any reason to play Foreman today? Yeah, I mean, he's going to get plenty of work. But if it's to sit Ayuk, then no. Ayuk or Foreman? I mean, I don't. Was the scoring put in here? I don't see scoring. But I mean, if it's Ayuk or Foreman, I'll take the better player. I'll take the more talented player, and I'll play Ayuk. That's a drop off. Like, yes, Foreman should be fine today, but that's a drop off enough in tiers and talent and whatever you want to call it, where I'll just play Ayuk even in a bad matchup. I'm not playing Foreman over. I'm not playing Foreman over Ayuk. I'm playing Ayuk. Let's see. I got a trade question here. Trade Montgomery, Godwin, and Watson for Taylor and Amon Ra. Feels like a lot to give up. Feels like a lot to give up. I see your second question though. If you're trading Justin Jefferson, I'm very on board with that. If you can get that return, if you can send Jefferson, Osborne, and Gibbs and get Taylor, Moss, and Olave, I smash accept. If you can make that happen, I am 100% doing that. If you have Justin Jefferson, unless you're 5-0 and cruising and killing it and you can afford to potentially wait on him as your lottery ticket, unless that's your situation, trade Justin Jefferson. I am pretty concerned about Justin Jefferson's rest of season. I talked about this in the stream last night. I can try to find a timestamp for anybody if you want to run it back. But basically, Jefferson's rest of season outlook is incredibly volatile because the Vikings season is teetering on the brink of collapse. And that would mean that if they're playing in meaningless games, they're not going to rush back Justin Jefferson coming off of a soft tissue injury in a lost season. If you can move off of Justin Jefferson and you can get a return like that, do it. Do it. 100% do it. 100% do it. All right. Again, I'm going for probably about another 20 minutes, guys. This was a bit impromptu, but I am going to shut it down at noon Eastern. I see everybody's questions, so I'm probably gonna try to speed round these things a little bit as best I can. Obviously, y'all know that I can go on my diatribes when doing some of this stuff, but I'm gonna try to speed this up a little bit just so I get everybody. But appreciate y'all coming in and handing out today. Appreciate everybody's patience as I work through this. And Marcus, I see your follow up that you only start two. We gotta get your commissioner on the phone, Marcus. 3 receivers next year. Take it or leave it. Let's make fantasy more fun. Let's start 3 receivers as a default starting lineup instead of 2. Nobody should have to make that decision between Debo or Ayuk. You should be able to play your studs, all of them. Higgins or Mostert? Mostert. Because I know he's Nemo. Higgins or Mostert? Mostert. Because, obviously Higgins is usually an automatic in your lineup. But Mostert is on a tear in the best offense in football. And Devon Achane and Jeff Wilson are out today. Mostert. What's going on? He hate me. Elijah Moore or Terry McLaurin? McLaurin. Let's play the dude who actually has his quarterback. Sam Howell might not be great, but he's better than PJ Walker. McLaurin's a better player than Elijah Moore. there's nothing working in Moore's favor today. There's no Deshaun Watson for Cleveland. Um, it's against the San Francisco 49ers. There's 15-mile-per-hour winds. McLaurin is in a dome. Um, and they're probably going to have a tough time running the ball against Atlanta because they're a good run defense. Terry, I know it's a bad matchup for Terry, but Terry has his quarterback and is in a dome. I'll take, and he's a better player than Elijah Moore. I'll take Terry. Let me see. Yeah, so just to wrap up those trade I'm not as bullish on that first trade, but I really like that second trade. If you can move off of Jefferson, Osborne, and Gibbs for the Colts backfield and Olave, do that. Do that. Eagles defense or Dolphins defense, toss up to a true toss up. Both are in good spots. One is at home, one is on the road, so I always am more inclined to play the defense at home. Dolphins, I mean, it's close. They're both in the same tier, but I'll take the defense who's playing at home, Crumply Heads. I'll play the Dolphins. Let's see. Start Saquon or Donta Foreman today. Is there anything? Do we have any recent updates on Saquon's availability from this morning? Giants are hopeful he plays versus the Bills. Man, the only way you're firing up Saquon is if you have somebody else in the Sunday night football game or the Monday night football game between the Chargers and Cowboys that you can pivot to. If you have Saquon, put him in your flex. Anybody who has Saquon, put him in your flex. If you have a guy that you can pivot to, like Gabe Davis, Josh Palmer, hell, even like a Michael Gallup in either Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, then you can afford to wait on Saquon and pivot if you have that option. If you don't have that option, I am probably opting for just playing the player who I know is going to play. Of course, I want to play Saquon, but I don't know. Just because he's got a high ankle sprain, he's missed the past 3 games. Just because the Giants are hopeful that he plays doesn't give me that much confidence on Sunday Night Football to fire him up if I don't have anybody else to pivot to. If Foreman is your best pivot, then I would play pivot, or I would play Foreman. That's as your pivot. I would play Foreman. We don't know what if he's ruled out? What if, we see this all the time. Oh, they're optimistic, but also it's a high ankle sprain. Missed the past 3 games. And they're down Daniel Jones for whatever that's worth. So he even knows how effective that offense might be. If you don't have somebody like Gabe Davis or Josh Palmer to swerve to in the event that Saquon is out, then I would just play Foreman. Bench one between Kirk, Olave, Waddle, or Pollard. Kirk. Those are all really good options, which is a good problem to have, but there's a lot of talent there. You're not sitting Pollard in a great matchup, and I can't sit Waddle or Olave. I mean, Kirk is getting really good volume, but that's a bunch of studs. That's a bunch of studs that you're competing against, that you're going up against. If your league only starts 2 wide receivers, get in your commissioner's ear. And we're starting 3 starting in 2024. We need to be in leagues where we start 3 receivers. Scoring more points is fun. Taking advantage of the good players that you draft is fun. Got to bench Kirk. I hate to do it because Kirk's on a heater, but you got to bench Kirk. Olave, Waddle, and Pollard are studs. One at the flex in full PPR. Demercado, Ingram, Jamo, or Algier. I'll take Algier here. He's got 15-plus touches in every home game this year. It's another home game for Atlanta. You figure he's going to get the volume. The rest of these dudes are dart throws. Algier's a bit of a dart throw too, but he's in another tier. He is safer. The Falcons are good at running the ball. They want to run the ball. They're at home. They're going to run the ball a ton. 15 touches has been an automatic at home for Algier this year. He's at home. Let's chase the volume. Tyler Algier. Sheldon, I think I got this question earlier, but if you didn't get it, there's a nice run by Tajay Spears. Damian Pierce. The Akers and Ahmed are dart throws. Damian Pierce is the Texans RB1. He's going to get volume. He's come through with some decent floor plays this year. Pierce over both of those guys. Pierce over both those guys. Akers is not usable right now. Ahmed is a dart throw. We don't even know how much work he's going to get. He might get work, assuming the Dolphins take care of their business against the Panthers, but that might wait. You might need to wait until the second half. Pierce is going to get the ball all game long for Houston. Play Pierce. Play Pierce. I got my members' questions. If any of my members missed any of my answers, let me know, but I did get those. Trade Waddle for Lamb? No. Waddle's in the better offense. Lamb is not off to, I still like Lamb season long, but he's not off to the start that we expected from him. I think Waddle is on the come up. Attached to the much better offense. Yes, he's his team's wide receiver 2, but he's a wide receiver 1 for fantasy purposes, or we've come to expect that from him. I would rather probably just keep Waddle. I'd probably just keep Waddle. CD hasn't been CD this year, although it is a good matchup this week against the Chargers. So CD should find some success this week against the Chargers. But half PPR points, he had almost 20 half PPR points week 2. He had 13 week 4. It's been he's been under 10 half PPR points of the other 3 games. It's been kind of quiet for CD so far. Waddle, meanwhile, he missed a little bit of time due to the injury, but he bounced back with a nice game last week and he's attached to a really strong offense. The best offense. I missed Howell or Stroud. Sorry about that. I missed the Howell or Stroud question from AS. My apologies. If you're still in here, between Howell's on the road against Atlanta, it's not the best matchup, but I guess neither is Stroud's matchup. Stroud has been looking better. Stroud had a nice game against the Bears last week in a catch-up situation. I'll give the slight nod to Stroud, who is at home. Howell has a tougher matchup on the road. Sorry, I missed that quarterback question earlier. If you're still in here, AS, I'll take Stroud slightly over Howell. Neither are great matchups, but at least Stroud is at home. At least he's at home. What's going on, Iron? Good to see you, man. Let's see. Demercado or Hubbard for the flex. I guess Hubbard. I mean, I'm not worried about the fact that Demercado is listed second on the depth chart behind Keontae Ingram, but the fact that they did do it, and these are your options. You're between Hubbard, you're between Demercado. Like, Hubbard is gonna get work today. Miles Sanders is out. And Hubbard he's already been a guy who was regularly involved when Miles Sanders was playing. So I'll take Hubbard. I'll take Hubbard. I think he's been, let me double check his usage. Yeah, I mean, he's already getting on the field half the time the past 2 games. You figure he should see a few more targets in this game against Miami. It's not spectacular with Chuba, but I'll take him over Demercado. And then Iron, really quick, Garrett Wilson or Osborne. And then Garrett Wilson, Lockett, or Thielen. Between Garrett Wilson and KJ Osborne in full PPR, I have to chase the talent. And there's no Darius Slay for the Eagles, Iron, so I'll take Garrett Wilson over Osborne. That's just a talent level discrepancy that I can't ignore. And no Darius Slay for the Eagles, so I'll take Garrett Wilson there. As far as Wilson, Lockett, or Thielen, pick one. I can't believe I'm saying this, but probably Thielen in full PPR in this matchup where the Panthers are going to have to keep pace. They're going to have to try to keep pace with the Dolphins. I'll take Thielen. I'll take Thielen. Yeah, the strong high floor. Really strong floor for Adam Thielen. Let's see. Kyle, I got your question. I would just fire up Foreman if you're not, if you don't have another option to pivot to for Saquon. Kyle Pitts or Logan Thomas? Oh, God. It's bounced back nicely last week. Logan Thomas had a nice game last week as well. It's a good matchup for Logan Thomas. I don't think it's as good of a matchup for Kyle Pitts. I'm just looking at the matchup. Just looking at the matchup for Pitts. It's not great. Oh my God. It's a coin flip. I guess a slight nod to Logan Thomas because of the matchup. And the Falcons the Commanders are probably going to have a tough time running the ball today. Atlanta is good at stopping the run. Meanwhile, Logan Thomas has a great matchup. I'll chase the matchup and play Logan Thomas. I'll chase the matchup and play Logan Thomas. Howell, Geno, or Goff this week? Geno, best matchup of the bunch. Potential for lots of points going against the Bengals. They're going to have to, they're either going to have to keep pace with Cincinnati or they're going to have to keep their foot on the gas if they have the lead on the road. I'll take Geno. Goff has to play on the road against Tampa. Don't love that matchup. Howell's on the road against Atlanta. Don't love that matchup. I'll take Geno against the Bengals. Iron, I got those questions. Nemo, what's this in what's the Texans thing in relation? Oh, Higgins or I don't know what that's in relation to. I mean, who have the Texans played? They played Atlanta last week. There's no confidence in that passing game. Anything on Laporta? Has there been anything on Laporta? Is he I haven't seen any injury update for him. Trending toward active. If he's in, you fire him up. If Laporta's active, you probably you just fire him up. But I haven't. We just got to keep an eye on injury status. So I'm sure we'll get that information here shortly. All right, I am nearing the end. Going to wrap this up in the next few minutes. But again, appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. Let's get these dubs. Javon, appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Thank you very much. Debo or Nico? Standard scoring. Whoa, Lamar just juked a dude out of his freaking shorts. Lamar's unbelievable, man. Debo in a tough matchup, or Nico is also in a tough matchup, and it's standard scoring. I'll take Debo. I'll just take the better player. It's not a good matchup against San Francisco, but Debo is one of those dudes that you typically start no matter what. There was originally rain in the forecast in Cleveland, but it looks like the storm is moving out of the area. So weather's not as big of a concern. And Debo will get the ball in the backfield. And so that alleviates that alleviates some of the, you don't get PPR scoring. So that becomes kind of negligible for Debo. And I guess helps him in a little bit more of a way than it would Nico, who's relying on catches. Tough matchup for him against Lattimore, but he is at home. I think I got to play Debo. I think I got to play Debo, and you just hope for the best. I think you got to play Debo despite the bad matchup. Play Debo despite the bad matchup over Nico Collins, and just hope for the best. I'll take the upside of Debo freaking Samuel, even though the matchup is it's a the conditions are better than for Nico because he's playing in a dome in Houston. Um, but Debo is the better player. Debo is the better player, and sometimes I just want to play the better player, and that's the situation now. Between Waddle, Devontae Smith, Nico, and Hollywood, and you can only start two of these guys, probably the first two. Probably the first two. Just bet on the talent. I'll keep saying it, everybody, because I'm here for you guys. We need to start three receivers in our fantasy football leagues, and we need to give our commissioners an earful about this at the end of the season. If we still only start two receivers, we need to change that in the offseason so you can start three receivers so you can benefit from the talent that you draft and you can play the guys that you drafted. I'm saying this because I feel for you guys with some of these decisions that y'all have to make. You should be able to play the good players that you draft. I'm a strong advocate for that. You should be able to play three of these guys instead of just two. I guess I'll take the first two guys and I will just take, I'll bet on the talent. I'll take the most talented players here. It's a tough call because all four of these guys are really good options, but I'll take the two dudes that you drafted highest, Waddle and Smith. Foreman, Smith, and Jigba or Downs in half PPR? Probably the running back. There's nothing scary about that matchup with the Bears going up against the Vikings. I like Josh Downs, but he's on the radar, but Pittman is still healthy. Alec Pierce is still there. Like, I would just take the running back who I know is going to get work. I know, I'm pretty confident that Foreman is going to get work. There's no Khalil Herbert for Chicago. There's no Roschon Johnson, and there's no Travis Homer. I'll take Foreman, and JSN's not on the radar yet. He just hasn't done anything. Is Laporta playing? Was that confirmed? That's good. So you're firing him up. We're firing Laporta up as a tight end one. Start Cousins or Herbert. Cousins is down Justin Jefferson. Herbert's down Mike Williams, but Justin Jefferson is a larger loss. And the Chargers at home in LA. Potential for a lot of points scored in that game. I'll take Herbert. I'll take the better quarterback who didn't have the bigger loss at wide receiver. Cousins lost Justin Jefferson. Herbert still has Keenan Allen, and he gets Austin Eckler back. I'll take Herbert. And then between Kmet or Laporta, I will start the guy who has been a top 4 or 5 tight end this year, maybe even better than that in Sam Laporta. If he's active, I have to put him in. If he's active, I have to put him in. I got to put Herbert in. And then Mixon, Davis, or Pittman, we got to pick one. Did I see this? I didn't see scoring for this. I didn't see scoring for this one. And yeah, Greg, I gotta play Laporta over all of those guys. I have to. He's been that dude this year. He's been that dude this year. I have to follow the guy who has proven, even in a small sample size, I gotta ride the dude who's given me a top 5, fantasy tight end. Even if he's a little banged up, I gotta play him. Between Mixon, Davis, or Pittman, I'd probably just go Mixon. Just take the running back. Like, Mixon's floor has been there, and there's nothing scary about this matchup against Seattle. Mixon's floor has been there, and this is a good matchup. I'll take Mixon. But and to that point, if this is whether it's the same league or not, Burrow bounced back nicely last week. I don't know how much T. Higgins can give him, but he gets T. Higgins back this week. He's at home in a good matchup against Seattle. Goff is on the road in a bad matchup against Tampa Bay. Burrow. Let's ride the wave. Burrow had a good performance last week. Let's trust in him again at home. Nothing scary against the Seahawks. And Greg, yeah, like I said, Greg Laporta over all those guys. I think I got everybody. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out today. I got to go set my own lineups with an hour before the games kick off. If y'all need any last minute help, hit the Discord. Second link in the description of this live stream and all of the videos on this channel. I only ask if you could, if you like what you see, if you appreciate the dialogue and the conversation, if you just like the stream, that would be much appreciated. Otherwise, best of luck today, everybody. Let's get these dubs. I will be back on Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern for Week 7 waiver wire and, of course, general AMA as always. Everybody have a great Sunday. Enjoy the football. Thanks for coming in and hanging out today, everybody. Best of luck for Week 6.